When my husband Kendrick walked through our front door with a 7-year-old girl, I thought I was looking at a ghost. She had my exact face from childhood photos, down to the tiny scar above her left eyebrow. But when I saw the silver bracelet on her wrist with Zayana engraved on it, my whole world shattered. I'm Zayana, 34 years old, and until that Tuesday evening, I thought I had my life figured out. I worked as a marketing executive at a tech firm downtown, drove a sensible SUV, and lived in a beautiful colonial house with my husband of 8 years. Kendrick was everything I thought I wanted in a partner. He was brilliant, working as a marine biologist at the Denver Aquarium, studying coral reef restoration. He'd come home smelling like salt water and tell me about the octopus that learned to open jars or the seahorses he was breeding. We had our routines, our favorite restaurants, our Sunday morning farmers market trips, but that night changed everything. The girl stood in my doorway wearing a purple backpack that looked too big for her small frame. Her dark hair fell in waves past her shoulders, exactly how mine did at that age. She clutched a worn teddy bear against her chest, its brown fur matted from years of love. When she looked up at me with those huge brown eyes, my breath caught in my throat. Those weren't just similar to my eyes. They were my eyes, copied and pasted onto a child's face. "This is Mira," Kendrick said, his hand on her shoulder. His voice sounded strange, like he was forcing casualness through a tightening throat. "She needs to stay with us for a while." I couldn't move. My feet felt glued to our hardwood floor as memories flooded back. My mother showing me photos from when I was 7, the school pictures where I smiled with missing front teeth, the scar above my left eyebrow from falling off my bike. This child had all of it, every detail that made me uniquely me, reflected back like a mirror into the past. "Hi," Mira said softly, her voice small but clear. "Mr. Kendrick said you're really nice. He said you might let me stay in your guest room, the one with the yellow walls." How did she know about the yellow walls? We'd never had children stay over. That room had been painted yellow 3 years ago when we still had hope, when we thought it would be a nursery. Now it held exercise equipment and boxes of Christmas decorations. Kendrick shifted his weight, still avoiding my eyes. "Why don't we get Mira settled first? Then we can talk." I nodded mechanically, my mind racing. Something was very wrong. Kendrick's hands trembled as he set down Mira's small suitcase. He knew I'd notice. In 8 years of marriage, I'd learned to read every tell. The way he rubbed his jaw when he was nervous, how he'd reorganize things that didn't need organizing when he was hiding something. "Are you hungry, sweetie?" I heard myself asking, surprised my voice sounded normal. Mira nodded eagerly. "Mr. Kendrick said you make really good spaghetti. That's my favorite." Another punch to my gut. Spaghetti had been my favorite at her age too. My mom would make it every Friday night, letting me help stir the sauce. I'd stand on a step stool, wooden spoon in hand, feeling so grown up. As I led them inside, I caught a glimpse of silver on Mira's thin wrist, a bracelet, delicate and old-fashioned, with something engraved on it. My heart started pounding so hard I was sure they could hear it. I knew that bracelet. I knew it because I'd worn it every day from my 13th birthday until I was 18, until it disappeared during my year in Italy, the year I tried so hard to forget. "Come on," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Let's get you something to eat." As Mira walked past me into the house, the bracelet caught the light. The engraving was clear as day. Z-A-A-N-A, my name, on a stranger's child, a child who looked exactly like me. Kendrick finally met my eyes, and in that moment, I saw everything. Guilt, fear, secrets that had been buried for 7 years. My perfect life wasn't just cracking. It was about to explode. That Tuesday had started like any other day in our Denver suburb. I woke at 6:30 to Kendrick's alarm, watched him stumble to the shower while I made coffee in our spotless kitchen. The morning sun streamed through the windows, highlighting the breakfast nook where we'd eaten thousands of meals together. Everything in our house had its place. The spice rack alphabetized, the throw pillows perfectly fluffed, the photos on the mantle showing 8 years of carefully curated happiness. "Running late," Kendrick had said, grabbing his travel mug. He kissed my cheek, his lips barely grazing my skin. "Got a new batch of coral fragments coming in today?" I'd nodded, already scrolling through emails on my phone. "I have that Peterson campaign presentation at 3. Probably be home by 6. Perfect. Love you. Love you too. The same words we'd said every morning for years, worn smooth like river stones. We moved around each other with practiced efficiency, two people who'd learned to share space without really connecting. Our house felt too big most days. 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a finished basement we never used. We'd bought it 5 years ago, back when we thought we'd fill it with children. Back when I'd spend hours on Pinterest, planning nursery themes and debating whether dinosaurs or elephants made better wall decals. The spare bedrooms stayed empty, doors closed, waiting for a future that refused to arrive. 3 miscarriages had taught me to stop hoping. The first one happened at 10 weeks, right after we'd started telling people. The second at 8 weeks. The third, I didn't even make it to 6. My doctor ran tests, found nothing wrong. Sometimes these things just happen, she'd said, as if that explained why my body kept failing at the one thing it was supposedly designed to do. Kendrick handled it by diving deeper into his work. He'd stay late at the aquarium, coming home talking about pH levels and water temperatures. I threw myself into my career, taking on bigger accounts, working weekends. We stopped talking about babies. We stopped talking about a lot of things. At lunch that day, my coworker Janine had asked about weekend plans. Maybe a movie, I'd said, picking at my salad. Kendrick wants to check out that new sushi place downtown. You two are so stable, she'd sighed. My boyfriend can't even commit to dinner plans. Stable. That's what we were. Predictable. Safe. We had sex on Saturday mornings, went grocery shopping Sunday afternoons, took turns cooking dinner during the week. We'd built a life that looked perfect from the outside. Inside, it felt like we were roommates playing house. The text from Kendrick came at 3:15, right after my presentation. Bringing a guest for dinner. My colleague Damon needs help. I'd been surprised, but pleased. We rarely had people over anymore. Most of our friends had kids now, and their lives revolved around soccer practice and school plays. I stopped at Whole Foods on the way home, buying an extra portion of salmon, a bottle of wine, some fancy crackers, and cheese. While cooking, I'd actually felt excited. Maybe this was what we needed. New people, fresh conversation. I set the table with our good plates, lit a candle, chose jazz for the background music. The house smelled like rosemary and lemon when I heard Kendrick's car in the driveway at 6:15. I smoothed my dress, checked my reflection in the hallway mirror. Professional, but approachable. The perfect hostess. The perfect wife. Then I opened the door. Kendrick stood on our porch, but he wasn't alone. Instead of the adult colleague I'd expected, a small girl stood beside him. She wore jeans with butterflies embroidered on the pockets and a pink t-shirt with a unicorn. Her purple backpack dragged on the ground. The teddy bear in her arms had a missing eye and a red ribbon around its neck. But it was her face that stopped my world. I knew that face. I'd seen it every morning in the mirror when I was 7 years old. The same olive skin, the same pointed chin, the same way of tilting her head slightly when meeting someone new. Even the scar above her left eyebrow, thin and white, exactly where mine had been before it faded with age. "This is Mira," Kendrick said, and I knew our carefully constructed life was about to collapse. "She'll be staying with us for a while," Kendrick said, his hand resting protectively on Mira's shoulder. "Damon's been in a car accident. He's in intensive care at Presbyterian. There's no other family." I forced myself to smile, though my legs felt like water. "Of course. Come in, sweetheart. You must be tired." Mira walked into our house like she belonged there. She didn't hesitate at the entryway or look around with the curiosity of a first-time visitor. Instead, she went straight to the living room and sat on the blue armchair, the one Kendrick always chose when we watched TV. Her small fingers traced the pattern on the armrest, a gesture so familiar it made my chest tight. "Where should I put my things?" she asked, looking directly at me. Her voice had a slight rasp to it, exactly like mine did at that age. My mother used to say I sounded like a tiny jazz singer. "The guest room," Kendrick answered quickly. "The one upstairs with the yellow walls." I stared at him. We never called it the yellow room. It was always just the guest room, or sometimes, when we were feeling particularly masochistic, the empty room. But Mira nodded as if this made perfect sense. During dinner, I watched her eat spaghetti the same way I did as a child, twirling exactly 3 times before each bite. She held her fork in her left hand, knife in her right, European style, just like my grandmother had taught me. "This is really good," Mira said, dabbing her mouth with her napkin. "Almost as good as the spaghetti at Antonio's." My fork clattered against my plate. Antonio's was a tiny Italian restaurant in Colorado Springs where I'd grown up. It had closed 15 years ago. "You've been to Antonio's?" I asked, my voice sharper than intended. Kendrick jumped in. "Different Antonio's, in Denver, near Damon's apartment." But Mira shook her head. "No, the one with the red checkered tablecloths and the jukebox that only played old songs. Daddy showed me pictures." My hands started trembling. I gripped my water glass to steady them. Kendrick wouldn't meet my eyes, suddenly fascinated by his pasta. "Tell me about your dad," I said carefully. "About Damon." "He works on computers," Mira said. "He's really smart. He has brown hair and glasses. He lets me stay up late on Fridays to watch movies." Generic. Too generic. Like she was reciting from a script she'd memorized. "And your mom?" The words escaped before I could stop them. Mira's face changed, a sadness settling over her features. "I don't have a mom. Well, I do, but she couldn't keep me. Daddy says she loved me very much, though. She gave me this before I was adopted." She held up her wrist, showing the silver bracelet. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the table. That bracelet. My bracelet. The one my grandmother had given me on my 13th birthday, engraved with my name in her careful script. The one that had disappeared during my time in Italy, when everything went wrong. "Can I see it?" I whispered. Mira extended her thin wrist trustingly. There it was, Zayana. My name on this child's bracelet. This child who looked exactly like me. "Where did you get this?" I asked, my voice barely audible. "My real mom gave it to me when I was born," Mira said simply. "Daddy says she wanted me to have something of hers, but I've never met her." The words hit me like physical blows. Real mom, when I was born, never met her. I stood abruptly, my chair scraping against the floor. "Excuse me, I need to check something in the kitchen." I made it to the sink before my legs gave out. Gripping the counter, I forced myself to breathe. In the dining room, I could hear Kendrick's forced, cheerful voice asking Mira about school, trying to fill the silence I'd left behind. Nothing made sense. The timeline was impossible. 7 years ago, I'd been 27, married to Kendrick for a year. I hadn't been pregnant. I would have known. I would have remembered, wouldn't I? But the bracelet, the face, the mannerisms, the knowledge of places she shouldn't know. Everything about this child screamed a truth I couldn't comprehend. When I returned to the dining room, Mira was yawning. "She must be exhausted," I said, surprising myself with how normal I sounded. "Let's get you ready for bed." As I led her upstairs, I felt Kendrick's eyes burning into my back. Whatever secret he was keeping, whatever impossible truth was unfolding in our house, I was going to find out, even if it destroyed everything I thought I knew about my life. I waited until midnight. Kendrick's breathing had deepened into the steady rhythm I knew meant real sleep. For 3 hours, I'd laid beside him, rigid as a board, my mind churning through impossibilities. The bracelet, the face, the memories that felt just out of reach, like trying to recall a dream after waking. Slipping out of bed, I padded barefoot to his home office. Kendrick kept everything meticulously organized, files labeled by year, passwords in a leather notebook he thought I didn't know about. The desk drawer was locked, but I knew where he hid the key, taped under the ceramic dolphin figurine his mother had given us as a wedding gift. My hands shook as I opened the drawer. Inside were manila folders, bank statements, and at the very bottom, a thick envelope marked "Confidential" in red ink. My heart hammered as I pulled it out. The first document was an adoption certificate. Mira Jade Thompson, it read. Date of birth, March 15th, 2017. My vision blurred. I did the math. 9 months before March 2017 would be June 2016. My semester in Italy. Except I'd never been to Italy. The realization hit me like a physical force. I sank into Kendrick's desk chair, papers scattered across my lap. More documents, medical records from a hospital in Colorado Springs, a birth certificate with the mother's name blacked out. But I could see the father's name clearly, Kendrick Thompson. "No," I whispered, "that's not possible." But the next paper destroyed any doubt. A photograph, Me, clearly pregnant, standing in profile against a white wall. My face looked younger, rounder, scared. I wore a hospital gown. Someone had written on the back, Z 36 weeks. The memories came flooding back like a dam bursting. Not Italy, never Italy. A private facility in Colorado Springs. My parents' hushed conversations. The pills that made everything fuzzy. Dr. Martinez with her soft voice saying, "This is for the best, Zayana. You're so young. Your whole life is ahead of you." I'd been 17, a senior in high school. The boy was older, in college. I'd been so stupid, so trusting. When I told my parents, my mother had cried for 3 days straight. My father made phone calls, arranged everything. They told everyone I'd won a scholarship to study abroad. The baby died, they'd said when I woke up after delivery. Complications. There was nothing anyone could do. I'd believed them. Why wouldn't I? They were my parents. They loved me. They wanted what was best. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Saw Kendrick's car earlier. Everything okay?" She knew. She'd known all along. I called her, not caring that it was past midnight. She answered on the first ring, like she'd been waiting. "Mom," I said, my voice deadly calm. "Tell me about March 15th, 2017. Silence. Then a shaky breath. "Zayana, sweetheart, we need to talk in person. Number now, tell me now." The baby didn't die. The words came out in a rush. "She was perfect, healthy, but you were so young, honey. You had college ahead of you, a whole future. We thought we were protecting you." "You gave away my baby?" My voice cracked. The Thompsons were family friends. They couldn't have children. It seemed like the perfect solution. Kendrick's parents promised to raise her well, and they did, honey. They loved her. The phone slipped from my numb fingers. Kendrick's parents, who died last year, leaving him as Mira's guardian. I heard footsteps on the stairs. Kendrick appeared in the doorway, hair mussed from sleep. He saw the papers spread across his desk, the open drawer, my tear-stained face. "You knew," I said. "When we met, when we dated, when we got married, you knew she was mine." He stepped forward, hands raised like he was approaching a wild animal. "Zayana, please, let me explain." "Explain what? That you've been raising my daughter for 7 years? That every time I cried about miscarriages, you knew my child was alive? That this whole marriage is built on a lie?" "I fell in love with you before I knew," he said desperately. "My parents only told me after I said I wanted to marry you. They thought you should know, but your parents begged us to wait. They said you'd built a new life, that you were happy." "Happy?" I laughed, harsh and bitter. I've been dying inside for 7 years, and everyone knew but me. Somewhere upstairs, a door opened. Small footsteps padded across the hallway. We both froze, listening. "I was going to tell you," Kendrick whispered. "I've been trying to find the right time, the right way. When my parents died and I became her legal guardian, I knew I couldn't hide it anymore." The footsteps stopped at the top of the stairs. A small voice called out, "Is everything okay?" My daughter. My daughter was calling out in the darkness, and she didn't even know who I was. "Everything's fine, sweetie," Kendrick called up. "Go back to bed." But I was already moving, pushing past him toward the stairs. I couldn't pretend anymore. Couldn't play this sick game where everyone knew the truth except the two people who mattered most. Mira stood at the top of the stairs in pajamas covered with stars, her teddy bear clutched against her chest. In the dim hallway light, she looked so small, so vulnerable. My heart shattered all over again. "I heard voices," she said. "Were you fighting?" I climbed the stairs slowly, Kendrick close behind. When I reached the top, I knelt down to her level. This close, I could see the flecks of gold in her brown eyes, exactly like mine. The way her nose crinkled when she was worried, just like mine did. "Mira," I said softly, "we need to talk to you about something important." She looked between us, too perceptive for a 7-year-old. "Is it about my dad? Is he okay?" "There is no Damon," Kendrick said quietly. "I'm sorry, Mira. That was a lie." Her face crumpled in confusion. "I don't understand." I took her small hand in mine, feeling the delicate bones, the soft skin. "Come sit with us. We'll explain everything." We went to the living room. Mira curled up on the couch between us, still clutching her bear. I could feel Kendrick's tension radiating from the other side of her, but I focused only on my daughter who didn't know she was my daughter. The truth is, Kendrick began, I've been taking care of you since you were a baby. My parents, your grandparents, they raised you until last year. But you said my real parents couldn't keep me, Mira whispered. Your father couldn't, I said, my voice steady despite the tears streaming down my face. He was young and scared and disappeared when he found out about you. But your mother, she wanted to keep you. She wanted it more than anything in the world. Mira's eyes widened. She looked down at her bracelet, then back at me. I saw the moment she understood. Children are so much smarter than we give them credit for. It's you, she breathed. You're my mom. That's why I have your name. I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. But why didn't you keep me? The hurt in her voice nearly killed me. I was 17, I managed, still in high school. My parents told me you died when you were born. They gave you to Kendrick's parents without telling me. I didn't know you were alive until tonight. Mira processed this with the strange solemnity children sometimes show. So, everyone lied? Yes, Kendrick said. Everyone lied. And I'm so sorry, Mira. I should have told the truth sooner. She turned to him. Are you my dad? No, sweetheart. But I've loved you since the day you were born. My parents brought you home when you were 3 days old, and I was there. You were so tiny, but you grabbed my finger and wouldn't let go. And you, Mira looked at me. Do you love me? The question broke something open inside me. I've loved you every day for 7 years, I said, even when I thought you were gone. I loved you when I didn't know you existed. I've carried you in my heart since the moment you were born. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, with the simple wisdom of a child, she asked, So what happens now? I looked at Kendrick over her head. His face was wet with tears, guilt and love warring in his expression. Despite everything, despite the lies and betrayal, he'd been there for her. He'd raised my daughter when I couldn't, when I didn't even know I needed to. Now, I said carefully, we figure out how to be a family, a real one, with no more lies. Can I still call you Kendrick? Mira asked him. I'm not ready to call anyone dad. Of course, he said, voice thick. She turned to me. And I'm not ready to call you mom either. Is that okay? It hurt, but I understood. You can call me Zayana, and when you're ready, if you're ever ready, you can call me whatever feels right. Mira nodded, then yawned hugely. Can I sleep in your bed tonight? I don't want to be alone. Yes, we both said at the same time. As I carried her to our bedroom, her weight warm and solid in my arms, I felt something shift in the universe. The lies were shattered. The truth was messy and painful and complicated, but my daughter was alive. She was here. And for the first time in 7 years, the hole in my heart began to heal. 3 months have passed since that night. I'm sitting in our backyard watching Mira play on the swing set we installed last week. She pumps her legs, hair flying behind her, laughing at something only she finds funny. Kendrick is at the grill, making hamburgers for dinner. It looks like a normal family scene. In some ways, it is. In others, we're still finding our way. The truth I've learned doesn't fix everything instantly. It just gives you a starting point. My parents and I barely speak now. They call every week, but the conversations are stilted, careful. My mother cries each time, apologizing again. We thought we were protecting you, she says. I believe her. I also can't forgive her yet. Maybe someday. Not today. Kendrick and I started couples therapy the week after Mira learned the truth. Our therapist, Dr. Chen, doesn't pull punches. The foundation of your marriage was built on deception, she said during our second session. You need to decide if you want to tear it down and rebuild, or walk away. We're still deciding. Some days, I look at him and see only the man who kept my daughter from me. Other days, I see the person who loved her when I couldn't, who made sure she had birthday parties and bedtime stories and someone to check for monsters under the bed. The anger and gratitude exist simultaneously, making my chest tight. Mira goes to therapy too. She has a lot to process. 7 years of believing one story about her life, only to discover it was all fiction. But kids are resilient. She adapts faster than any of us. Last Tuesday, she came home from school with a family tree project. "I don't know what to put," she said, spreading the paper on the kitchen table. "Everyone else has normal families." "No one has a normal family," I told her. "They just have different kinds of complicated." She thought about this, then started writing. Under Mom, she put my name. Under Dad, she left it blank. Under Guardian, she put Kendrick. Under Grandparents, she put Kendrick's parents with angels next to their names. My parents' names went in a separate box she labeled biological grandparents. "Is this okay?" she asked. "It's perfect," I said. "It's your truth." The milestones come in small moments. The first time she reached for my hand while we were shopping. The night she had a nightmare and came to me instead of Kendrick. The afternoon she said, "Zayana, can you teach me to braid my hair like yours?" She still hasn't called me Mom. I've stopped waiting for it. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I'm still her mother. Biology made that true. Everything else we're building day by day. Kendrick brings me a burger, fixed exactly how I like it. "She's getting brave on that swing," he says. "Too brave," I agree, watching her lean back, arms stretched wide. "We did okay today," he says quietly. It's become our evening ritual, acknowledging the small victories. "We did okay," I repeat. Mira jumps off the swing at its highest point, landing in a crouch like a superhero. She throws her arms up in triumph, then runs toward us. "Did you see that?" she shouts. "I flew!" "We saw," Kendrick confirms. "Very impressive." She plops down beside me, stealing a chip from my plate. "Zayana?" "Yeah?" "Sarah at school asked why I live with you if you're not my mom. I told her you are my mom, you just gave me away and then found me again. Like in a fairy tale, but backwards." My throat tightens. What did Sarah say? She said that was weird but cool. "Can we have ice cream for dessert?" And just like that, she's moved on. The enormous complexity of our situation reduced to weird but cool in the mind of a 7-year-old. Maybe that's the lesson. Maybe healing isn't about making everything perfect. It's about making it work. It's about choosing to show up every day, even when the story of how you got here is messy and painful and full of loss. The bracelet still circles Mira's wrist, my name in silver, catching the evening light. A reminder of the child I lost and found, of the years stolen and the years we still have ahead. Sometimes the family you're meant to have takes the long way home. Sometimes secrets meant to protect become prisons. But truth, no matter how painful its arrival, has a way of setting us all free. And sometimes, just sometimes, that's enough. If this story touched you, please take a moment to like this video and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your comments mean the world to me. I read every single one. And if you want to hear more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for being part of this community. Until next time.